saw security being beefed up. This was when tension arose over the presence of Cosatu's second deputy president, Zingiswa Losi, and metal workers union Limusa.
The Congress initially got off to a good start with the display of unity. Soon, the deep divisions began to show, prompting a call to increase security around Vuyo and Cosatu.
And to postpone President Jacob Zuma's address in the eye of the storm, Zingiswa Losi, Cosatu's second deputy president, who was elected while serving as a Limusa shop steward at Ford Motors. When Limusa broke ranks with Cosatu, she resigned and became Pop Crew's shop steward, retaining her position in the Federation's top six. Well, our contributing editor, Vuyo Mvoko, is standing by to give us some analysis on the Congress. Vuyo, thanks very much for joining us. No doubt it's been a long day for you so far, but I guess, much like other conferences this year, unity seems to be one of the big themes.
Well, unity and cohesion is the theme of the conference, but I think, the conference, started very late, hours after it was scheduled to start, and I think the last we saw glimpses of that unity was just before the adoption of the credentials, whereafter, as you pointed out, we saw those chaotic scenes over Losi, whether in fact she was a legitimate leader and should occupy the position of second deputy president of the Federation, and of course the issue of Limusa, whether a union that was formed after the expulsion of Limusa deserves to be here. But one must say that since then, once those credentials were adopted, things there is now a semblance of normality, and we've just seen Astumo Dlamini giving that opening address as Cosatu president. Things seem to have come down a bit, but I must point out though that Cosatu and Vuyo have actually vowed that they are indeed going to raise a whole range of issues that they believe point to something wrong about this very Congress. Peter?
Vuyo, what was the thrust of Astumo Dlamini's speech a short while ago?
Well, he started by, as you said earlier, talking about that, some would say, conspiracy theory, that there are a group of outsiders, people, the Americans, he specifically mentioned, who are hell-bent on destabilizing the country and on destabilizing Cosatu. Essentially saying the reason Cosatu is where it is today is because money was pumped into certain people, like the coffers of certain people or certain affiliates, precisely to destabilize Cosatu, part of a broader plan to destabilize the country. But he basically blamed everyone and anyone, including the media, including their departed or erstwhile comrades, as well as everyone who simply or who doesn't agree with the current Cosatu leadership's characterization of what went wrong. Whether he's correct or not, I guess remains to be seen. But he blamed everyone short of blaming. In fact, part of the problem would be that he fell short of taking responsibility. And I do think that given everything that has happened, they too have erred here. And he simply refused to take responsibility for some of the problems that are, in fact, of the current leadership's own making.
So Cosatu will now be taking its first steps in a post-Vavi era. They'll be electing a new general secretary, but what is really at stake for the Federation in this Congress?
Well, one thing you will have to give the current leadership credit for, even though some of the admissions that they were prepared to make, they are making them sort of kind of, reluctantly. And whatever compliments they are prepared to give to anyone who has actually helped them, they are giving those compliments kind of backhandedly. But they have, I think, to some extent, faced the realities that they were supposed to face, even though they may be doing so sort of kicking and screaming in certain instances. One of them is a big problem where money has been involved and money has not been used the way it ought to have been used. They've got their finger on that problem and they seem determined to deal with that problem. The other issue is that they have failed dismally to service their membership, and that you see in resolutions that they have taken years ago that they have not done anything about. That too they are prepared to admit. Where they are failing to admit complicity in the problems is where when it comes to how they as leaders did not show leadership or were keen to basically blame everyone but themselves for that wrongdoing. So hopefully over the next 2-3 days they will be prepared to get to that point as well and be prepared to admit to those wrongdoings, and I think they will be on the way to rectifying some of the problems that they too have identified, but including those they have not been able to admit to up until now.
Vuyo, that's where we'll leave it for the time being, but this is a story that we're certainly going to be following right through this evening, and hopefully we might be able to cross again to Vuyo a bit later on. President Zuma due to speak there a little bit later on. Vabashni?